Welcome to Philosophy Vibe. My name is George, and today I'm doing a special Q&A video as part of the 100,000 subscriber milestone for the channel. I was so delighted to receive the Silver YouTube Award. We've worked hard on this channel for a number of years, so I see this as a real achievement, and I'm so grateful to all our subscribers. You made this happen, and I really appreciate your support of the channel. So as part of this milestone, I posted on the YouTube community for you to ask any questions about the channel, about philosophy, and even the Requisite Release novel, and I was going to answer them in a special video. A big thank you to everyone who posted a question. We've had some fantastic questions posted. I'm not going to go through them all in this video, I've only picked out some, but for the ones I don't answer in this video, I will reply to you in the thread and answer your questions. And before we begin, a quick mention on our books. For those not too familiar with this channel, my friend John and I have spent years discussing and debating loads of different philosophical theories on this YouTube channel. We have compiled the scripts of these videos into 3 excellent books that are ideal for those interested or getting into philosophy. We have Volume 1, The Philosophy of Religion, Volume 2, Metaphysics, and Volume 3, Ethics and Political Philosophy. These books will break down all the core Western philosophical ideas into easily digestible debates. So by the end of reading the 3 books, you will have a really great grasp on a wide area of Western philosophy. So yes, if you are interested in philosophy as a subject, these books are perfect for you. They're all available on Amazon, and I'll put the links below. Okay, so let's take a look at the questions. Hussein Tariq 973 asks, which philosophy/religion/theory about the ontological nature of existence and reality do you believe in, if any? Probably pantheism. For me, this makes the most sense. Such a vast, infinite universe with the ability to create consciousness within it has to be seen as a god itself. I don't think you need to go beyond the universe to find the divine. It's all around you. You can have multiverses or multi-dimensions or possible worlds, all of this, but the infinite totality and everything inside it collectively make a deity, in my opinion. Now, some say the universe itself is not conscious, but I don't think that's true. We are conscious and we are part of the universe. So yes, the universe has consciousness. And in addition, as we are part of the universe and we are a complex, sentient, self-aware entity, then I don't think the parts can be more complex than the whole. So I see the universe as a whole as an infinitely more complex being, and so a kind of god. Watch the pantheism video for more information on this if you haven't already done so. Okay, at Mark Thompson 222MT asked a bunch of questions. Let's take a look at these. Number 1, which topics have been the most challenging to explain, whether due to complex nature of the topic, difficulty in presenting the topic without injecting too much personal bias, having to tiptoe around certain words so as to not trigger demonetization by YouTube, or any other reason? As for complexity, the Frege-Geach problem was hard to explain in an easy, straightforward way, as we try to do with our videos. In terms of controversy, that's easy. It was around the abortion debate. That was my first video to get demonetized. It was quite a few years ago, but it's virtually impossible to touch that subject without it being controversial for advertisers. We were actually going to do a euthanasia video right after, but basically I pushed it back because I knew that would get demonetized, and I've kept on pushing it back, and it just hasn't been made for that reason. Next question, what are your favorite and least favorite steps in the video creation process? Recording is my least favorite. I find it quite hard, but animating is my most favorite, or bringing the videos to life. Next question, are there any videos that attracted significantly more or less engagement than you expected? Okay, so the top 10 philosophical novels got way more views than I expected. I released that right after top 10 philosophical movies, thinking that the movies one would be really popular, but the novels video has turned out to be my most successful video. Less engagement was the Thanos video, the Thanos utilitarianism video. Maybe that's just been covered a lot, maybe people are sick of it, but it has really underperformed and I was disappointed with that one. Next question, do you plan the content of your videos far ahead of time, or do you make these decisions more spontaneously? I always plan ahead of time. I'll usually have a 6-month plan. It may change, but there's always a plan. Can we expect any future book releases, whether they be novels like Requisite Release or anthologies based on your videos? Great question. So, side note, with AI going the way it's going, it's kind of put me off writing. If it improves at this level, then the AI will be writing a novel that will take me years to write. It'll be able to write it in a few seconds. At least that's the goal of AI. So after I played around with ChatGPT, I was really demoralized and I kind of took a vow to never write a book again. I'm not as pessimistic now, and I have changed my mind. And there is a novel series I have in mind, so maybe one day we'll see. And then, is there any way to purchase signed copy of Requisite Release? Not officially, but email philosophyvibe@gmail.com and we can work something out. Thanks, Mark. Appreciate the questions. So moving on, at CrunchyBroll4731 asks, are you Christians and do you have a philosophy you live by? So with regards to Christians, I'd say I'm a cultural Christian, but not really religious. As for the philosophy I live by, I have metaphysical beliefs, but they don't affect the way I live. If you mean a philosophy in terms of like ethical or behavioral, the golden mean makes the most sense to me and is something I always try to live by. Not too much of one thing, not too much of another. Try to find the virtue in the middle of two vices. And off the back of that, virtue ethics is another one I try to live by. I think trying to be a virtuous person is the best way to live. All ethical theories have serious flaws. You can find issues with consequentialist ethics and deontological ethics and everything like that. So rather than focusing on a theory that you try to apply to every moral encounter you face, instead just try to be a virtuous person. That's it. Of course, you're all going to ask what makes a virtuous person, but that wasn't the question. So let's leave that for another time. JWad Vlogging asks, is philosophy still relevant? Great question. Well done. So the short answer is that actually now it's more relevant than ever before. I get in the early years when we knew nothing, philosophy was so relevant because we had nothing but questions. Then in the 19th and 20th centuries, science was answering everything, and a lot of philosophy debates, outside of political philosophy, had pretty much been settled. So I think these centuries it was all focused on the political philosophy. So yes, one could argue philosophy became a little bit irrelevant. But now, right now, we're on the precipice of such technological advancement that philosophy has shot right back as probably the most relevant subject at the moment. Firstly, let's take AI. We need a whole new philosophy dialogue about what it means to be alive, what it means to be conscious. Then the ethics related to this. Is disabling an AI program unethical? Can AI love? Should it have rights? Etc, etc. We also have the virtual reality aspect as well. Could we download our minds into a virtual reality? Will this be us? Will we still be alive? How real should actions in a VR world be considered? Could we create eternal life? Would this be ethical? Etc, etc. So yes, now more than ever, philosophy is so relevant. Right, next question. Wyatt97 has questions about Requisite Release. Thanks, Wyatt. Really glad someone brought this up. For those who don't know, Requisite Release is our philosophical fiction book. It's about a young man's battle with depression and anxiety. He starts cognitive behavioral therapy and begins seeing the therapist Linda. And the book is a compilation of Simon's journal and Linda's session notes. It's available on Amazon, so do check it out. And just so everyone's clear, the writer of Philosophy Vibe is the writer of Requisite Release. So for the purpose of ease, I'm going to be saying I, as in I am the writer. So, Wyatt asks, I loved your book Requisite Release. Thank you very much. It was tragic and beautiful and left me aching. Okay, sorry about that. It's difficult for me to ask a clear and concise question about this novel because of how emotional it is for me. I suppose I just want to know about what led to the creation of this novel, but I don't know how to ask that question at the depth I'm aiming for. I want to know what the purpose was behind writing the novel. What made you write it? Is it a reflection of your own life and struggles with philosophy? What were you wanting to make people feel? Yeah, great questions. So, the book was written in 2020. As you can imagine, an extremely tough year for everyone, but in particular, I was going through some real struggles, and the book was a way to vent, almost like an anger letter to the universe. But no, Simon's struggles were not mine. Simon's story isn't my own. Simon is a completely fictional character with a completely fictional story, and I made sure that what he was going through was not the same as me. But the feelings, so how he felt and his anger towards the universe, that was similar. Now, as I've said, I would say I'm a pantheist, but at the time of writing the book, I was really into existentialism, was reading a lot of Nietzsche, Camus, Sartre, Kierkegaard, so I wanted to blend those two worldviews inside a depressing, anxiety-riddled struggle. The main theme of the book was finding and creating meaning, and that is probably the most important aspect of a life. But how does one find meaning if they're alone? How does one find meaning if the universe does not even acknowledge their existence? How can you find meaning if there is no objective meaning to be found? So my struggles with philosophy were definitely in that book. Overthinking, overcomplicating, overanalyzing, absolutely. But also I wanted to try and capture the general feeling of the collective spirit at the time. It's been a few years, but 2020 was horrible on so many levels. People were upset and angry, almost angry at the world for the situation it was in. I really wanted to capture that feeling, so I wanted the book to feel what the people felt. Wyatt continues, "Personally, I felt a sense of being understood. The book is so similar to my life that it was shocking. At first I thought I'd be able to get some help from it, as that seemed to be where it was going. However, I was very wrong, of course, and honestly I'm glad I was, because the book left me with a particular feeling I needed to feel and didn't even know I needed. I loved it and I hope you publish more. I just want to hear your motivations for writing it and how closely the story mirrors your real life." So I'm sorry it didn't help, but I'm glad you felt understood. What Simon went through is common, and you're not alone. But remember, the story of Simon is a cautionary tale. And some spoilers here for people who haven't read it. I didn't want it to be a happy ending. I knew from the start this was going to be really tragic. But, I'm going to be honest here, a part of me now regrets the ending. Maybe I'm in a different place or whatever, but a part of me doesn't really like how the book finished, and I'm thinking I might go back and change the ending just a little bit. So for those of you who haven't got a copy, if you want the current ending, then go and order it now, because I might be changing it soon and you won't be able to get the original ending. But thanks, Wyatt. I really appreciate you asking about the book, and I'm so glad you loved it, and whoever wants a copy, I've put the links below. Moving on. Sempervirens writes, "I'm a big fan, thank you. My question, does George also record the voice of John's character?" Right, so I don't know where this has come from. I remember years ago an odd comment asking this that I brushed off, but as time has gone by, a lot of people have been asking this, a lot of comments, people emailing in, so it's built this mysterious element, right? People don't know, are we two people, are we one person? So I actually like the mystique. I'm sorry, but I'm not going to answer that question. I actually like the mystery behind this. Sorry. I actually like the mystery here, so I'll keep you all wondering. Rashtriya Swamsevak Bila asks, "My question is, from where does this knowledge originate? Like when humans came first, where did they learn language and study? I mean, according to me, knowledge is never gained unless I have perspective of Hinduism, but I want to know the point of view of Western philosophers." This is quite an anthropological question, but it is interesting. Was there a time where the lights of consciousness just turned on, so to speak, or did we gradually become sentient and self-aware? I don't have a solid theory on this, but I love the stoned ape theory as an answer to this question. This is the idea that early humans, I think Homo erectus, actually ingested magic mushrooms, which had profound effects on their minds and subsequently human evolution, and this just developed exponentially our minds and our society and everything else. So this could have been where our ability to gain such knowledge began. Not saying I believe it, but I just love the theory. At the Knowledge Man 101 had a few questions, but there's just one I want to focus on. Do you believe that it's unethical to eat meat or to slaughter animals for food consumption? Good question. Good question. I do want to do a video debate on veganism. There's a lot to cover here. The short answer for me would be, it depends on the animal really, and depends on the situation. So let's assume it's not the apocalypse and there's no mass starvation of humans. If you're asking, is it unethical to eat a chicken or a cow? I would say no, it's not. If you're asking, is it unethical to eat a chimpanzee or a dolphin? Absolutely, yes, it is unethical. I base this on sentience and consciousness. Creatures of the world clearly have different levels of sentience, and with that comes different levels of rights, and so less sentient creatures, I assign them less moral weight, shall we say, and this affects how I see them and treat them. Let me give you an example outside of eating animals. Suppose I'm a town planner and I'm about to build a building on some land. If I was to find an ant colony on that land, it wouldn't affect me in any way. I would continue to dig up the land and start construction and probably destroy the colony. This is because I don't give ants that much moral weight. If instead there was a herd of cattle on the land, I would most likely move them out of the way onto a safer bit of land so they're unharmed, but I would still go ahead and build. So I view the cattle higher in terms of sentience and give them more rights. If, however, there was a troop of chimpanzees, I would see them as the inhabitants of the land. I would not actually want to disturb them, and so I would probably build somewhere else, as I see them as having even higher sentience, and so they have more moral weight and more rights. So because of this, I see certain animals, if they're eaten, it's not unethical, but then other animals, if they're eaten, that is unethical. Look, there's a huge debate here and there's a lot I want to cover. This is just a really brief answer and there's a lot to argue on both sides. So definitely there is a video I want to do on this. At Jamrick Great GR asks, what are your thoughts on stage 2 cosmological arguments? Stage 1 cosmological arguments argue for a first cause or a necessary being, and stage 2 of the arguments bridge the gap between the first cause and God. Sadly, stage 2 cosmological arguments are not well known. Yes, this is interesting. For me, the argument actually comes down to what we mean by God. So if all you need as a definition of God is to be a first cause or be a necessary being, then that's it. We don't actually need stage 2. If you start assigning predicates or attributes to God, then yes, you need stage 2 and it becomes really problematic. So the deist doesn't actually need stage 2. But the theist, or the religious theist, needs stage 2, and this will come with a lot of philosophy work. And that's it. Thank you to everyone who posted a question. I really appreciate it, and I hope you enjoyed this video. As I said, for the questions I didn't answer in this video, I will be posting my reply to you in the YouTube community thread. Don't forget about the Philosophy Vibe anthology books. If you want a good all-round overview of Western philosophy, then make sure you check out the anthology book set. And of course, if you want a dark philosophical novel, then make sure you check out Requisite Release. All books are available on Amazon and the links are below. Thank you to all our subscribers and thank you for getting Philosophy Vibe to the 100k mark. Honestly, I'm delighted and this channel still has more to come. Take care and I hope to see you all soon.